Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to our podcast, How the Culture Gets It Wrong. It's a podcast on dating, sex, and relationship insights with myself, Andre Paradis, my lovely assistant, Tess Listic.
Hi, everyone.
And tonight we're doing an actual group call over the internet. My wife, Nancy's here. Babe,
hello, everyone.
Hi. And our very first first male guest star, my friend David Kruger. David, say hi.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
David is calling all the way from
Detroit, Michigan.
We're
Actually,
sorry.
Birmingham, Michigan.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
It is freezing cold. I was outside moving some boxes around. I'm still thawing out. So.
Oh, God.
We're sorry. So David's going to join us. David is a man up to big things in the world, as I am. A lot of us are, by the way. And so tonight's podcast topic is called A Man's Story, which is David's story, is how being raised sweet and sensitive is a man's death sentence.
Sure is.
Ooh, this should grab somebody's attention, right?
Yeah.
Being
Yes,
raised,
that's good.
and what's in our culture is this: we raise men to be sweet, kind, and sensitive, thinking that makes them better, softer, gentler, more loving men. And we know there's a big problem with this. We'll talk about this. And David's story: he was married and was raised this way, and we'll go right all the way through what happened to him and what he's up to now in the world, and why he's actually sort of lined up with us and our mission to change the culture, because this is what we're up to. My job is to change the culture back to a place where men and women are celebrated, as opposed to isolated and pointing the finger, and to spread out in the culture that masculinity is toxic. How is that going to work out for anybody? You make half the planet wrong for being who they are.
It makes me sad hearing those words.
But it's everywhere. David, right? It's everywhere.
Yeah, the whole planet loses. The thing is, you make men the villain, women lose too.
Of course.
Women want good men in their lives, and they lose too. Everyone loses.
So tell us your story. Tell us how this all started. Tell us how you were raised, and
Okay.
who you were.
I started out. I began life as a pretty innocuous kid in the Midwest. My parents were divorced when I was very young. That's a whole story.
Mm-hmm.
But for about the time I was 5 years old, my brother and I were raised by my mother, and my mother is a great woman.
Mm-hmm.
She was very capable. She was in business for herself. Her family was in the restaurant business, and so she never really needed a man for income or for support. She always had that handled, which again I think was a challenge for her in her love life. But so a large influence in my life was my mother and her sisters, my aunts. I had a lot of female influence around me. And I was a shy kid. I was never the big athlete in school. I was never one of the popular kids. And as I was growing up, and I was never particularly magnetic to the ladies. I was lucky to have a prom date my senior year, and she ended up giving me the speech before prom that we're only friends, and then she hooked up with a friend of mine.
Oh my God.
So you were shy, you were awkward. I heard. Yep. Was that part of the upbringing, or just your personality? If you had to guess,
part of the upbringing.
Part of the upbringing.
Part of the upbringing. It was a lack of confidence.
Okay.
So it was a lack of confidence. The constant I think the female influence, it didn't quite sit well with me. I was a shy, reserved kid, and it kind of burned in me. I always wanted to speak out. I always wanted to be more powerful. I wanted to say things, and I didn't. And that became a thing for me later on in my life that I had to deal with. I'm a much different person today.
I have questions because now you wanted to break out, you wanted to speak up.
Oh yeah.
You didn't because of your training?
Good boy. Because of conditioning. It wasn't just being trained to be a nice guy. There was another side to it. When you have real dominant females raising you, there's a lot of fear of female backlash. There's actually fear. Of the feminine,
I see that.
or you could even say the feminine in their masculine,
right?
Because that's actually one of the scariest things there is.
Right.
The feminine and unbalanced masculine. That might be getting a little crazy, but that's really what it was. And so I was trained from the time I was real young to kind of keep my mouth shut, which is the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted to be Steve McQueen.
Right. Well, that makes you a normal boy.
Yeah, that's absolutely. There was that normal boy screaming to get out.
Yeah.
But I really didn't have an outlet for it. And so I didn't take to like boy things, I didn't, my father and I had a great relationship, but he just wasn't there all the time. He couldn't be.
Right.
And so I wasn't into Little League and football. And I mean, I did those things for a while and ended up drifting away from them. And so, yeah, it was kind of a little awkward and kind of had to figure it out as I went. And so in my dating life, I was kind of starting from behind the eight ball. Right. And was always having, there were challenges, like, sexually and romantically. And I mean, I got to college and I started to blossom a little bit.
It's pretty fantastic, I think, because now we have it from the horse's mouth. You understand? So I get it, right? Because this is the stuff that I teach as well. Like a young man needs to find himself, right, in order for him to be any good to anyone. And what does that mean, right? So when the problem with single motherhood, it's not on purpose. It's more of an accident than anything else. That women who are single mothers, who are in charge of the household, have to be masculine.
Yes,
they're not feminine. They're not feminine to the masculine. They're just masculine. They're man. They provide, protect, fight, push, conquer, go to work, make money. They have no choice, right? So they're forced into their masculine, and they're really good at it. They're women are very, very adaptable. That's how they actually survive the millennia, like by adapting to whatever is necessary for them to survive. So they could do it. Eventually, it kills them. We know this now. Like their bodies, their energy, their strength, it kills their spirit, it kills everything good about them. They're femininity for sure, right? So for a woman to be raised, for a young girl to be raised by women who will protect and provide her, but make her feel safe, is completely appropriate. When you raise a man that way, out of default system, when you overprotect a boy, he can't find himself. When you make it easy for him, keep him comfortable, he won't get out of his shell. He can't get out of his shell. You literally, like the little shy boy who can't go out and find himself. He has to get out of his shell. He has to push out of his comfort zone and go find who he is in the world and actually build his character. And that's how, men raise men.
Yes.
Suck it up, get to work, fall on your face, pick it up. Yes. You know what I mean? Like pick yourself up, let's go. Like who cares? Don't cry. Now, not that crying is a big deal. I never heard that in my life, so it's not. But I mean, the idea of like whatever you feel bad, we don't care. Do it anyway, right? Like this is how you build a character. So, being raised as a man without that, will keep you stuck in the shell. And what happens is you become too kind, too sweet, too understanding, right? But the bigger problem is you can't step into your power.
That's correct.
You cannot conquer anything. You cannot fight for anything. You're basically on the outside. And then if you've been over-mothered, a lot of these guys actually, they're everywhere now, absolutely everywhere, right? They expect women to do it for them.
Yes. And it's kind of the metaphor of, if a duckling is like being born and trying to peck its way out of the eggshell. You would see that and you'd want to help it get out of the eggshell, but if you help it, you kill it because now it can't fend for itself.
Right.
And so,
same thing with boys. The struggle is essential. The struggle is part of their growth. The struggle is essential for them to find their strength, find their power, find their own identity, find where they fit in the world, where it works, what's not going to work, what they want, what they don't want. Like all this shit comes from them struggling.
Yes.
So so now we know this. We know this now, like in the psychology systems, and whether it's we know about men is that by the age of 10, get this, by the age of 10, ladies, if you have boys, sons, single mothers especially, but even women with their kids, with their husband, by the age of 10, leave him alone.
Yes, please.
Him alone. You don't get to mother him, baby him, do his laundry. Leave him alone. This is when you start letting him get up for put the alarm clock in the morning for him to get up by himself to get to school. If he misses the bus, he just learned that it's up to him to get his shit together to get on the bus, right? Breakfast with everybody is fine. Dinner, the meals are accounted for, but if he wants food in between, you make it, you little shit, right? Like you stop kissing, you stop kissing his ass, which is completely unnatural for women. I get it, but that is the point. It's like what's natural for a woman is the worst thing on a man. So
it's the worst thing.
By the age of 10, like this, leave him the fuck alone. Let him do his laundry, cook in between when you know what I mean. Find yourself a job, make some money somewhere. Newspaper route, mowing the lawn, clipping the old lady's flowers across the street, whatever. He has to figure out his way in life. Anyway, Tess.
I was just going to say, while you're talking about all this, it reminded me, and you've told this story before on a podcast, but how your son, when he was a certain age, right, for breakfast, you used to do that as a family thing, and you all were together, but at a certain age, he decided to be by himself, and that was his alone time. And I was going to ask Nancy, how did you feel, just to really kind of maybe drive home the point? I don't know how Nancy felt.
I remember that moment, and thank God that Andre was there to explain to me what was going on. And this was a teenager coming into
hormones
his
kicked
hormones
in.
and all that. But thank goodness, because I would have been all over it. Like, come join us. And
So to recap, if you don't know, if you listen to the podcast, is by the time my son grew into puberty, by the age of like 13 and a half into 14, like really quickly, his body just shot up. And all of a sudden, his sweet demeanor to be sitting with us and to be socialized or social went out the window. And if we were having breakfast in the dining room, he would go in the living room. And if we had, if we had breakfast in the kitchen or lunch in the kitchen, he would go by himself in the dining room. Like wherever we were, he was not. Like he would isolate himself on purpose because that's what testosterone does. Testosterone, young men want to be left alone.
Yes.
To their own thoughts, their own, ideas, their own whatever. So, but that's the point. So, to a woman, it's always like, "What are you doing? Come and sit with us." Like community, togetherness, kind of connection, right? That's not what boys need. Starting at the age of 14, leave him alone.
And as we grow into men, we still need that alone time. We need that
completely.
stoic alone time. Yes.
Completely. And it changes when you get to be 50 plus. It's a whole different story. But pretty much, if you want to be good with men, just give him space, leave him alone. Don't try to force him to joining anything. He'll figure it out. He'll make his way. He'll be much more happy and feel respected that you leave him alone. There's goodies in leaving him alone. He'll feel respected by you. Anyway, so moving on. So I want to take you now because we only have so much time. So young men and then dating and also, you got yourself a girl. Take it. Yeah,
got myself a girl. And so I'll take you to the good stuff. I dated a little bit in college, but I met the girl of my dreams a few years after college. And I can tell you that, Andre, you had talked a little earlier about, when a boy gets to be 10 years old, stop mothering him, leave him alone. Mm-hmm. He won't learn to be strong. Let me tell you, if he doesn't learn to be strong, if he goes out into the world weak, life will kick his ass, and he will learn to be strong one way or another. And that's what happened to me. So I met this wonderful girl. In fact, I was living in LA at the time. I had this dream about being a big movie producer, and things were kind of going a little sideways. And so I met this girl. She was from back home, and we had a long distance relationship for a while. And because my career in LA was really going nowhere, I decided to relocate back to Michigan for this wonderful, wonderful young lady. And I was doing actually inadvertently a lot of the things at the beginning of the relationship that do make a man attractive. Because I had my own life, I had kind of my own direction, and I was funny, and so everything was great. Attraction was really high. Moved back, we got together, we moved in, we got married, and things quickly started to go south. She was hot and cold. I thought she was just crazy. And
never heard that before.
I'm like, well, maybe women are just crazy. Why is she like this? And she would be randomly angry at me at certain times. And I was a good, nice guy. I thought that marriage was an equal partnership, and that that she would regard me. My mother took good care of me. Why doesn't she take good care of me? And but I love her, and I'm sweet, and I listen, and we love each other. Everything is going to be fine. And things got, a little up and down, and we would argue more and more. And she got depressed because she had no idea what was going on either. Women don't know this stuff. Men don't know this stuff. They just know that they're unhappy. And so she was on antidepressants for a while. And I remember one day, her medication got changed. She was on some sort of an antidepressant, and her personality flipped. And all of a sudden she was staying out, doing happy hours. She was out all night with coworkers, and I'm pretty sure at this point she was having an affair. And, I just kind of freaked out. I started doing the exact wrong thing. I started chasing and started to try to fix the relationship. And why don't you love me? And so that's when things really kind of went down the toilet.
I have a question. How long did that take?
That was we were married for 8 years total, and it was about year 6 is when all this completely imploded. And for a year, I kept trying to do everything I could to be romantic and fix the relationship and kind of bring her back. And it just didn't work.
Okay, so you say you did everything wrong. What was that exactly?
I did not lead her. I was not a man. I did not make decisions. I did not set a direction for our life together.
Well, that's very sexist of you.
Yeah, I know. It would have been. I know, because I was egalitarian. I was like, well, we make decisions together. We do this together. You're as responsible for this as I am. Was where I was at. That was what I knew, and it wasn't just from my upbringing. It was from society. It was from the media.
Right. And how'd that work out?
It blew up in my face and left me horribly depressed. And she left, and she was sad. I was sad. I was just miserable. I was drinking every night. I just did not know what to do.
Now, say more about why this egalitarian system didn't work, because that's in the culture right now. That's all it is, right? Equality everywhere.
It's all it is. And the problem is, you're really not giving a woman what she innately desires from a man, which is strength, protection, leadership. I mean, if you think back to the time before writing, back when we were cavemen, a woman needed her life and the lives of her children depended on being with a strong man who she knew could protect her, who could hunt and provide. And granted, we live in a much more civilized society today, but those drives are still there. And so, she wants someone who's going to stand up to her, who's going to stand up to other people, who knows what he wants, who makes decisions. Even if she disagrees with them, she's going to feel safe with a man who knows who he is, knows what he wants, and has her best interest at heart, and tells her that.
Ooh,
and
okay,
I did none of those things.
Right. Sorry, I need to, because you said something about tell her what to do, right? Now, hold on. I want the ladies' input over here. Ladies, how did that sound to you? Because I know exactly what he's saying, and he's completely right.
Yeah.
He's completely, oh my God, right. That's what a woman wants. Somebody to go, yeah, no, not this, no.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the context of the information, it all fit, and it resonated with me.
But as a woman out there in the world, you know what I mean? That's the exact opposite of where they teach you.
Right.
And what's in the culture is, you can't let no man tell you what to do.
Yeah.
He's got, and that's a stereotype, masculine, toxic, blah, blah, right? Well, I'm going to say this. I say it all the time. There is such a thing as stereotypes because they're true, natural, and good.
Yes.
Yeah.
They fit.
Definitely.
They're made to fit. Okay,
I
so
can add a little context. When I say, I put in quotes, telling her what to do, you're setting direction and setting some structure. You are not being domineering or bossy. That's not the point. The point is to create a structure that makes her feel safe and taken care of. So if I say, we're going to so and so for dinner, and she's like, well, I would really I prefer this. Okay, great. You can be flexible.
Sure.
But you create a framework where she doesn't have to make decisions. She doesn't have to be the leader. She can be safe, under your
and relax into her femininity that way, because that's how she becomes feminine. When you take it on, she gets to relax into being a woman, which is what we like the most about them.
Exactly.
So if you don't take it from her, she'll have to do it and stay masculine, and you'll really have a fraction of the good evening that you wanted. Right?
Exactly.
In every sense. I mean, good evening, good life, good good vacation, good anything, right? If you take it off of her, so that she gets to be feminine and loving and glowing and radiant and joyful, right? And in line with her essence, and all the goodies are right there for us, right? It's life-giving when they're like this.
Yes.
Go ahead, Tess.
Yeah.
I had to explain this to my girlfriend, who's more of the masculine energy in this relationship. And it was really hard for to understand that. Her natural instinct is kind of to say, oh, go wherever you want, babe. She's trying to be giving, she's trying to be caring. She's trying to let me, make the decisions because she thinks that's what I want.
Right.
But, I've tried explaining now that I know from you, that, and yeah.
David is losing his mind over here.
Your girlfriend is a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's also how we
So-
raised everyone,
Right, and
Like,
it is.
it is rude.
Yeah.
It is rude. This is the culture.
Right.
I was raised that way too, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm older than all of you. You know, you never push on a woman. You never assert yourself on a woman. You never lean on a woman. You never control a woman. You never ever do anything. So we turn into okay, so where you want to go eat? Which movie do you want to go see? Okay, so you want to go to the beach, or you want to trying to be polite, and not understanding that makes you look like a freaking noodle. And what's happening in that, polite is fine, but this is putting everything on her, which puts her in a masculine.
Yes.
Right, and takes all the goodies that we like about her out the window,
Yeah.
because she's masculine, her femininity and her essence, everything's out the window. And I'm going to tell you worse than that. I had a friend who did not. I had to explain that to him. It's hysterical. With his girlfriend, he let her make. They went for dinner. She says, "I want to go to that restaurant," right? So he's like, "Really? Okay." So they get there, and he's like, a guy who watches what he eats, and he says, "When we got to the damn restaurant, everything was covered in cheese. It was a cheese crap restaurant. Everything was disgustingly fattening, right?"
Okay.
But they made dinner plans, and she picked the restaurant, and so he's like, "I can't eat anything here." And she's like, "What do you mean you like the place that I picked?" But I really, And what happened is because her choice displeased him, she took it personally. That she ruined the evening, and she ended up ruining the evening because she was so mad that she was displeased, thinking that he was judging her, and he had no idea what had happened. How can you take a restaurant personally?
Oh,
but she
that's
did.
happened
right?
to me.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's same thing with the
Yeah.
movie. Let her
Yeah.
pick the movie, and if the movie sucks, and you tell her, watch what happens.
Yeah.
She's gonna get
Oh,
mad.
yeah, don't ever do that.
Right. So again, that's the thing. Don't put anything on her. If you want to have a good evening, if you want to be, especially if you're socializing and dating, right? And business is different, right? It's a whole different beast. We're talking about relationship, love relationship dynamics, right? Don't ever. I say this always to guys. Don't ever, 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 ever ask her what she wants. You're asking her to be in a masculine. If you want a feminine woman, don't ask her what she wants. Make the plan, and then you go. At the end of it, so how do you feel? And she'll be able to tweak it a little bit so for her comfort. That makes you the guy who's making her comfortable. You know what I mean? And allow it to be exactly what it needs to be for the evening, the purpose of the evening. It's a win-win. She gets to relax into her feminine. You're the man. You made the plan, right? You'll keep yourself accountable for that. It's a fantastic thing. Put it on her. You'll go to shit left, right, in the center, and eventually she'll resent you for it.
Well,
And Andre, you gave me an epiphany.
Go ahead.
Right there, when you talked about don't disagree, don't disapprove of maybe a choice she makes. Don't put it on her. A problem that nice guys have is that they haven't really integrated their dark side and their personalities, and they oftentimes will explode in anger.
Mm-hmm.
And there were many times, I remembered 10 instances, many times in past relationships, certainly when I was married, I would explode in anger just because I was uncontrolled. Maybe I was angry about something else, and she would take it personal, that I didn't like what she had done or what she had cooked or what she had chosen, just because I was in a shitty mood about something because I couldn't control myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that many of those instances eroded the relationships I was in the past.
those moments are scary.
Yeah, and
us.
that's when we talk about nice guys, we sometimes forget that side of it. There's another side to nice guys.
Yeah,
They have these unhinged moments too.
definitely.
Well, and what I was going to say too, this is I don't know if you know this part. This may just come at you sideways, but what are the problem with being a nice guy is that because you're not stepping into your power, right? Nice guys, you'll notice this, right? As passive as they want to be and as kind and sweet and sensitive they want to be, because they feel powerless, they're actually very emotionally unstable.
Yes.
They will lose their shit like a guy like me or you now won't. You know what I mean? Because I know I have enough testosterone to control that. By the way, and again, the whole idea that testosterone is dangerous is exact opposite. When men build their testosterone by going after the things that they want and build themselves up as males, right, conquering their business life and their money, it calms them down.
Yes.
It calms them down. It's a guy who's not working, who's not going after anything, has no purpose. They're edgy. They're emotional. They're freaking hard to be around. They're like, these are the guys that lose their shit, right? So again, masculinity is not the problem. It's the lack of masculinity that make men emotional and dangerous. Again, where the culture has it wrong. Are you with me?
Yes.
So stepping into you because we're going long here, but it's okay. We can edit some of the stuff. So from there, marriage falls apart.
The marriage falls apart, and I am devastated.
Yes.
And I started doing some research, and I found everything. Esther Villar, The Manipulated Man. I found David Data, which at the time I couldn't, the Way of the Superior Man, which at the time I could not understand. I'm like, just show me a way to get love and validation.
Yeah, it's pretty poetic in writing.
Yeah,
I guess,
and the first big epiphany I had, because a lot of nice guys who are being rejected, one of the things that they miss out on is they notice that they're not getting any sex, that they've been sexually rejected. Men tend to obsess about that side of things. And I found a writer, a guy on the internet who, really kind of had this conquered. He talked about women's sexuality and how, women are actually very sexual. You just have to be a man and you have to, trigger into this. And so I started reading his material, and it was a big epiphany for me. And I began to apply it in my life. And I started seeing a couple of women. In fact, I went through kind of a bad boy phase, and I was like seeing a married woman to get revenge on, marriage and everything I had been through. That's kind of what nice guys do. They go through a bad boy phase. And I was using some of these techniques, and it was really powerful. And she was, the way she responded. And so I'm like, it was my first big eureka moment that everything I'd been told was wrong. That women who supposedly were these like demure creatures who don't want to be touched and you have to like finagle sex out of them. No. They're as horny as you are, if not more. And so that was my first big epiphany, and that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of learning everything I could about how to enhance relationships. And from there, that's when I started really looking at masculinity. That was trying to get better sex was my door. Men, we like want to get something. We're always like trying to get to the next level, the next achievement. And so we got to be motivated to get up off the couch and do it. And so improving my sex life was what got me to the party. But then I started learning about masculinity, being a man, and the different testosterone levels. And that's when I read, books like the one I mentioned to you before about being the strong man a woman wants. And looking at all of these other things, and it made me ultimately stop worrying so much about sex and all of that, and take a look in the mirror, and realize that that attraction cannot be negotiated. You cannot convince a woman to want to be with you. You have to be magnetic. You have to be with this wonderful creature, the kind of man she would want to be with. You have to be that, is what I figured out.
So how long did this process take for you?
Years.
Okay. Okay.
Because it was like one little discovery at a time. And I didn't really have anybody showing me the way. It was like, I read this book here, took this online course here, had this conversation with this person here. And so I just kind of started to piecemeal it together. And started to get an idea, like an idea in my head of what it is a man needed to be. And sometimes I would go back to like the archetypes like Steve McQueen and Lee Marvin and the old tough guys, and that I love those old movies and stuff. And so that was kind of like what I would think of in my head. And then I would read about like being a leader and what it really was to be a man. All the while seeing it juxtaposed with what's going on in modern times.
Right.
The typical sitcom where the dad is an idiot and Supermom has to come along and save the day because he's like screwed everything up. I remember that show with Jim Belushi. I can't remember what and it was like that sort of thing.
They're all like that. They're all like that. They're all like that.
Oh my gosh,
True.
Disney Channel is filled with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff. I mean, I love your journey because this is what I'm talking about, right? Like everything I'm talking about is, what's happening in the world is happening to men, and you like when like from in the forest and out of the out of the world, awakened in the sun, right? So you said something earlier. You said like that. Eventually men will figure it out. I don't think that's true. I think in my world, the boys that don't have the courage that you've had to kind of look at themselves will blame women and continue being boys and continue wanting women to take care of them. So I see that disgusting thing going on everywhere around me. So you, I think, one of the hybrids or one who fought for your life, fought for yourself, and then went into a discovery journey and did this. So I say, this is where the culture has it wrong. Tell me on your side, because we got time limit. From your perspective now, looking back, where is our fucking culture has it wrong?
Wow. Pretty much fundamentally everywhere. I mean, we are feminizing young boys. We overreact. The Me Too movement sprung up over a year ago, and it began as a good thing. It began as a conversation, listening to women who had gone unheard for a long time. But as a lot of movements often do, they go too far, and then it goes toward vilifying men. It goes toward tearing down what the patriarchy that they call it, and zeroing in and destroying toxic masculinity. It's a severe overreaction. And by vilifying men and boys, I mean it's suicide. It's like societal suicide.
Absolutely.
And so it's Andre. When I said I think that boys will figure it out, I guess I should have caveated that with when things get bad enough. When the nuclear bomb goes off and there's nothing left of society, then it's like things would have to get pretty bad for them to figure it out on their own. That's what guys like you and I are trying to correct.
Yeah.
We're trying to get in there and be like, no, we don't have to hit 0 hour. We don't have to do you know that in Japan there aren't going to be Japanese people in a few generations. They have these young boys, or they call them herbivores. They would rather hold hands with each other, play video games, and just discuss whatever, and they won't date women. The Japanese government is trying to give all kinds of financial subsidies to people to have babies, and they're not doing it.
Right.
And it's unbelievable. And I know that Europe is not far behind Japan.
It's happening everywhere.
France is no longer replacing their population.
Yeah, Italians the same thing. Italy is going away as a culture because there's nobody, they don't have the population to fill in the blank. The people are dying. The people are dying faster than they're making babies.
Yeah.
It's around the world. But again, this damn movement of, you masculinize women, you feminize men. It's hard enough, this is what cracks me up, and I think it's infuriating at the same time, is that, men and women are completely different. Completely different in every fucking way. But that's the point, because that makes us compatible. Right?
Yeah,
compatible. So polarity is necessary. So it's not equality. Equality is destructive. This equality ruins everything. But this thing around the planet now about equality, that makes things fair, is literally eating at the society, everything the society brings that makes it work.
Yeah, I think people say equality but they mean sameness. We are not the same. We can be equal in terms of our rights and our privileges as members of society, but we are not the same. And people say equality and they mean the same, and we're not. That's where they get confused.
Equal pay, equal rights, equal opportunities. Of course, and that's called business. But to bring that in personal life is suicide. Tess.
Yeah. Andre, I know what your mission is. David, now what would you say your mission is? And this is kind of really heavy. Is there anything uplifting at all?
My mission is to build better men. My mission is to go find me at 20 years old, 25 years, or maybe the 30-year-old version of me that just got dumped, take him by the hand, say, I know what just happened to you, and this is how we're going to fix it. To take that guy, who's just been dumped, or who is a nice guy, and who is feeling the pain in his life. And believe me, a nice guy is feeling the pain in his life somewhere. And my mission is to come get that guy and show him exactly what to teach him this stuff and help him step by step. I actually have a course. I make them print stuff up and keep a log and report it back to me. And he's going to step by step. He's going to build himself into a man.
Wow!
And so that's my mission, is to go after that guy, the younger version of me, and help him out.
Damn, that's good. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So, shit, I was going to say something else. Hold on. We're going to have to cut that out.
That's fine.
His mission, my mission is to change the culture as we know it right now. So I want to make I called it Oprah Big, by the way. I wanted this around the nation and in the Western world. The idea of masculine for women is not better, feminine for men is not better. It's the exact opposite of what works more naturally, right? So a more natural way to operate. I'm not talking about going back to the 50s. That was too radical. And this is why this whole thing started. But there's an in-between here. There's a dance. There's a flow that is natural, and now we know better, we understand better, but it is not going in opposition of your bodies. You know, a masculine woman does not make a better woman. A feminine man is not a better man. It's the exact opposite. It eventually kills each of them.
Yeah.
The nervous system cannot handle it, right? People die from all kinds of diseases living outside of their essence. So just to uplift this a little bit, the good news, and I think, David, you'll agree with me, is that I'm starting to see, that makes me smile a little bit, because I've felt in a dark hole for a while, and I'm still scared about this, that I see more and more women stepping into what we're talking about.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I'm seeing more and more women, YouTubers and bloggers who are speaking out about this. Many men are speaking out about it, but sometimes the men speak out about it. They're called misogynists, and they end up being a little bit controversial. But when the women speak out about it, it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. There's a great deal of credibility that they have. And it's happening more and more. And so I'm seeing more and more of these voices speaking out the way we are, and that encourages me a lot.
Yeah. Because I know when men do it, they're angry, so that's why they come off like, over the top, because they kind of are. By the time they get to speak, it's kind of late.
Yeah, by a lot of these red pill channels, and a lot of these MGTOW. You've heard about MGTOW men going there. Of course. And a lot of these guys, and they're nasty, and they're vitriolic, and they're actually demeaning toward women. And I don't want to hear.
No. And that's the enemy the other way. See, that's just destructive the other way. So it's funny because my son's 18 years old, and his buddies are always here. Like on the weekend, there's always 6, 7, 8 guys in my living room, hanging out, eating pizza, playing video games, and talking smack. And they actually have I'm actually going to do a podcast with them, because you should hear the things they're saying.
Wow.
Right? They're all 17 years old. My son is the only one that's 18. They're all 17 years old, and they get it. Like, this is bullshit. They push back. Like, they're, and I'm trying to wiggle in there with a little bit like more, a little bit more like insight, insight to finesse, because, they're going to end up pushing back against the whole thing, and that's not really going to help either. So I think there's hope. We just got to keep in the conversation. Absolutely. So, David, just because we got to wrap up, so how do people get a hold of you? Because what you do is different than what I do, and website, phone numbers, all of it. Bring it.
Check me out on the web. The website is thealphashift.com.
Okay.
Thealphashift.com, and in the middle of the page, you can subscribe to my newsletter. I'm constantly sending out new material, and I have a product called The Alpha Shift, and you'll learn about that in the email newsletter. So, go to The Alpha Shift. You can check out my blog, check out the mission, and get subscribed on my email list. Probably the most important thing. Yeah. My phone number for your subscribers, this is my direct line. Give me a call anytime. It's 248-884-2656. I'm happy to talk about this. I offer personal coaching, consultations. So that's my phone number. And thealphashift.com is the best way to find me.
Beautiful. And I've been to the website. This website, it's interesting. Article after article after article after article after article.
Nice.
It's all this stuff, like just the title. You're like, you're a writer. I can tell you're a writer, because your title's like,
so cool.
I'm like, no, he didn't. Click. Oh, yeah, he did. Right? And so it's good.
I got to make you click on it. Yeah.
Right. It works. I'm really, really proud of you. I think what you're doing is freaking amazing. And this is why you're here this evening in our first mail on this podcast. And I appreciate you, everything you're up to. And you and I are going to dance together. I could tell.
Absolutely.
In somewhere, some other ways, beyond this. So
Absolutely.
Thank you, David. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, everybody. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And till next round.
Till next time.
Same on my side. If you want to get a hold of me, Project Equinox. Actually, Tess, why don't you do this? That's Tess' job. Go ahead.
So the Facebook page is Project Equinox with Andre Paradis. We have content on there constantly. The website is projectequinox.net. We have blog, written material. We have YouTube links. We have sound clips as well. That's also where you can subscribe. We have content on there also constantly. Every week we give a little bit of a rundown on what the next podcast is going to be. So that's a good way to get a hold of that information. This is also where you can contact Andre for coaching.
Right. And any kind of, one-on-one coaching, couple coaching, small group events. I love my favorite thing. One of my favorite things, it's all favorite, is special events and coming in to speak to like a church group or like a women's entrepreneur. Anything, you know what I mean? Because these women have very specific challenges with men in their lives. So that's my favorite, one of the favorites. So if you need me to come in and help the ladies with their relationship within a business sense, some juicy stuff going on there. So within all this, till next week, next podcast will be another tantalizing topic, I'm sure. Everybody, Tess, Nancy, David, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to the audience. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.